Greetings and welcome back to Doctor Who Revisited, where I go through every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way to 2025 and review them. And now we are on to The Androids of Tara, the fourth of the Quest for the Key to Time season, and easily my personal favorite of the six main stories. I really like this episode. David Fisher is 2 for 2 so far with Doctor Who. I mean, obviously, he wrote like 4 Doctor Who stories. This is his second one, and in my opinion, easily the best one. Obviously, the previous one was Stones of Blood, but I love this episode a lot. The locations, the cinematography, the sets, the costumes, the concept, everything is top notch. So basically, we're on this planet called Tara, which was a planet that was colonized by humans in the 22nd century, and they decided to basically model their entire lifestyle and existence after medieval castles with knights in shining armor and whatnot, but with the added exception of having advanced technology such as androids. And this is the perfect blend that Doctor Who does so well of the quote-unquote primitive technology with the advanced technology, and I love it. For some reason, it just feels like this balance fits this episode so well, and really, it's a joy to watch, in my opinion. From the swordsman with the electrically charged swords to the bowmen with the laser bolts instead of arrows. I just eat it up. I gobble it all up and enjoy it every time. It's always a joy whenever I do a rewatch and this episode comes along. It's amazing. I love it. First of all, let me just get this out of the way quick, just like David Fisher kind of did. So they basically just solve the whole segment for the Key to Time dilemma pretty quickly. I mean, Romana basically just finds it within the first 5 minutes of the first episode, and then the rest of the episode could just flow. And I love that. I mentioned this earlier of how each of these episodes, they don't center the entire storyline around just the segment. It's a regular Doctor Who episode. They just have to find a clever and creative way of just shoving the whole segment of the Key to Time into it in a way that actually makes sense for the episode. Because, if they just centered the whole episode around just segments with the Key to Time, it'll be it'll be over pretty quickly, now wouldn't it? So yeah, it's just this one piece of statue that Romana just finds in the first part of the episode while the Doctor is out fishing. I love that. I mean, just the Doctor has officially decided he wants nothing to do with this segment of the Key to Time. He's had enough segment hunting. He just wants to relax. He just wants to go fishing. And you know what? Good on him for that. But yeah, one could totally understand him after having to go through all this trouble for a quest that he never really asked for. It was just thrust upon him by the White Guardian. So yeah, nice for the Doctor to do that, and it's a nice way of separating the Doctor and Romana, because they have this very tensioned relationship. She's always focused on the mission, and the Doctor just wants to relax and live his life, and that's what he just wants to get this mission over with. And well, that kind of leads to trouble in this episode, because Romana accidentally goes into the territory of the Count Grendel of Grach. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing. And the Doctor is found by the people of Prince Reinhardt. Little do they know that they're basically opposing political figures on this weird, wacky planet. One is planning to assassinate the other. One is supposed to be queen. There's a princess that just happens to look exactly like Romana, her identical equal in the universe, which kind of goes into another part of Romana's character development, especially in the second incarnation. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But I love the setup of how both of these get separated, and each ends up on opposite ends of the political spectrum of this episode. And oh yeah, there's a plot to assassinate the king. So what? The prince before he can become the king. So what does the prince does? He has the doctor build an identical android of himself as a decoy. Love that. Love all the political gymnastics that this episode brings up, and I love the ceremonial stuff with the coronation, and then later the wedding.
Knowledge.
It's one of those things where like you see these types of ceremonies that you're familiar with from Earth, but they have a sci-fi fantasy spin on it. You get to see a different side to it. This is how these ceremonies would be performed on another planet. I've already gone in depth on how much I loved the presidential ceremony where they announced the Doctor as the president of Gallifrey in the previous season in the Invasion of Time. So yeah, this is just another part of that. This is just another one of those pomp and circumstances that the Doctor Who franchise does so well. And I love, like I mentioned, the costumes and all that. The costumes were really on point for this episode. I really loved the character of Zarek and his undying loyalty to the prince. And even the guy Farah, I kind of like his interactions with the Doctor at first, where the Doctor is kind of toying with him at first, and he really doesn't like him. And then by the end, he actually offers the Doctor his own sword. And by the way, this is one of the few episodes where I actually listened to the audiobook of the novelization of this episode by, of course, David Fisher, who actually wrote this episode. The novelization really goes into detail and in depth. This is one of my favorite parts of. This is what the types of novelizations for Doctor Who episodes that I love. It doesn't just translates the entire episode from the screen to paper. It expands on it. You have the option now. This is a book. This is a novel. This is not a TV episode that you have to cut for time. So I really love that. It really goes into explaining the history of planet Tara and the different houses and the different rulers from the past and the plague. Obviously, that is loosely referenced and mentioned in the episode. The novelization actually really goes into detail of it, and most importantly, it really explains the societal hierarchy of the swordsman, and which really makes that moment of when Farah gives the Doctor his sword that much more impactful because of how important it is to them. So yeah, I really highly recommend either reading or listening to the audiobook of the novelization for the Androids of Tara. It really adds to the experience of what is, in my opinion, an already pretty great episode. I also really love the Doctor's interaction with K9, the character of a lady Lamia, I think her name is. Yeah, she's really good, and obviously the novelization does actually go into some more details regarding her relationship with the Grach, with Grendel of Grach. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for now. But yeah, like I said, I really love this episode. This is one of those episodes that's really special to me, with, of course, the blend of the medieval England stuff with modern technology and androids. And one of my favorite parts is like by the end, where the Doctor goes sword fighting with Grendel of Grach, they hype him out to be this best swordsman on Tara, or whatever it is they say about him, and the Doctor just toys with him. Like, he beats him and then gives him his sword right back to go for another round, because obviously the Doctor is a master swordsman, as we've already seen from the Third Doctor era against the Master in the Sea Devils, one of the most iconic, arguably the most iconic sword fights in Doctor Who of all time. So yeah, clearly, if you're going for a sword fight against the Doctor, don't. I guess that's one advice for you. And I love it at the end where they say, like, how did you beat him? He's the best swordsman in the entire. Oh, was he supposed to be good? So yeah, loved that. Again, really love the usage of K9 in this episode. I do, however, think that Romana getting captured again in the episode was kind of redundant. But I guess they really needed a cliffhanger for episode 3, so I guess that's why they did it. Again, the limitations of TV with a serialized format versus the novel, which is again another reason why I highly recommend checking out the novelization for this episode. And I believe this is the first time I've actually hyped up a novelization for an episode, because I've only like read slash listened to a few of them, but this is by far my favorite because it really adds to the story. And obviously, it's narrated by John Leeson, who of course voices K9 in this episode and in the novelization, and actually still does on Big Finish. So yeah, I really like this episode, and I don't really think I need to go too in depth of why I like this episode because I just really explained it to you. Yeah, so yeah, loved it, and again, I love how they just got the whole segment of the Key to Time out of the way really quickly in the beginning.
In the beginning.
And then by the end of it, they kind of go back because they kind of have to complete that story of finding the segment because it gets taken from Romana. And I love that moment of just the Doctor hiding it in his pocket and kind of forcing Romana to search for it in the room while he's moving around. Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. This episode is one of my favorites. Can't really say the same about the next episode, but I'll talk about that later when I get to it. And oh boy, am I excited to rewatch that episode. Anyways, these are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now. Hi there. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.